RNA, the full name for RNA, we say that it is what? It is a ribonucleic acid. Remember that for DNA, we said it is deoxyribonucleic acid. But now, when you have got RNA, we say it is ribonucleic acid. Yabona, a ribonucleic acid, it is still similar to DNA, okay? It is still similar to deoxyribonucleic acid. It is also made up of nucleotides, just like the DNA. But the nucleotides that are making up RNA, we call them RNA nucleotides. Okay? RNA nucleotides. So I'm no longer going to say DNA nucleotides. I will call them what? RNA nucleotides, because those ones, they are making up the RNA molecule rather than the DNA molecule. Alright, so we say that the RNA molecule, it is single-stranded. Okay, that is the difference. Remember that in DNA we say that it is what? It's a double-stranded, right?
Yes.
Yes, but now when it comes to RNA, we say that it is single-stranded. But for you guys to understand RNA, we need to draw the nucleotide, the RNA nucleotide. So the RNA nucleotide, it is similar to that one of DNA. It has got a phosphate group as well. It has got a sugar here. What is the name of the sugar that we find in an RNA molecule?
Ribose sugar.
Ribose sugar. Okay, that's the difference. So now let me just make these diagrams, okay? So we still have a phosphate group. Just like in a DNA molecule. But the sugar that we have got in RNA is no longer just a deoxyribose. It is now known as ribose sugar. This is known as ribose sugar. So that is the difference between the sugars of DNA and the sugars of RNA. So the sugar that we find in RNA, it is ribose sugar, but the one in DNA, it is deoxyribose sugar. Then we still find a nitrogenous base here. We still find a what? A nitrogenous base. Now let's further explain about the nitrogenous base. How many nitrogenous bases can we find in RNA? There must also be 4 as well, but we need to name them one by one, the nitrogenous bases that we find in RNA. So we have got adenine, the same way as DNA, we have got adenine. Yes, Sam? What is the other one?
Uracil.
We have got uracil. Instead of what? Instead of thymine, we have got uracil. And then what is the other nitrogenous base that we can have?
Cytosine.
We can have cytosine as well as guanine. Cytosine and guanine. So basically, these are the 4 nitrogenous bases that we have on an RNA nucleotide. Okay, cytosine is still C, guanine is still G. Yes, Sam, you can talk.
So, sir, they don't combine. They are not combined same as our DNA.
They are not
combined, like complementary combined, like
Okay, we are going to see how complementary they are when we do protein synthesis, when it comes to the transcription process. But when we want to see how complementary they are to each other, adenine, it is complementary to uracil. Then cytosine, it is complementary to guanine. But when we draw the RNA nucleotide, we do not show any weak hydrogen bonds, because this is a single-stranded. So let's just say this nucleotide, it has got cytosine, right? It will be bonded, or it will be connected to another phosphate group and another nucleotide. So this is another nucleotide that I'm connecting here. Maybe it will have uracil. Let me just give this shape and call it uracil. And it will be connected to another phosphate group again, connected to another ribose sugar. Remember, it's a ribose sugar, right? And this ribose sugar will be connected to another nitrogenous base. Maybe let's call it adenine. So let's have adenine here. Okay. And then connected to another phosphate group. It's just one chain. of polynucleotides, one polynucleotide chain. We don't have any weak hydrogen bonds here when it comes to RNA.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's not put weak hydrogen bonds. So let's say this is our guanine. So this is a complete RNA molecule. But the RNA has got only one strand. This is the strand that we're talking about. This is the strand. This is the RNA strand. So this is an RNA molecule. So an RNA molecule, it is only made up of one strand. That's why we say that it is what? It is single-stranded. So remember that a strand, it is just made up of nucleotides, right, that are connected to one another to form a chain. So in this case, we just have got nucleotides that are connected, but we don't have any nucleotides connecting using hydrogen bonds, using weak hydrogen bonds. So now you ask yourself, what is the need for this pairing? Because I'm sure Sam is asking himself, what is the need for pairing adenine and uracil, cytosine and guanine, if we don't really have any weak hydrogen bonds? So this pairing that we are doing here, we only use it when it comes to the process of what? Of protein synthesis. So when we start explaining the process of protein synthesis, you guys will get an idea what is the whole purpose of pairing adenine and uracil. But naturally, if you find an RNA molecule, the RNA molecule will just have nitrogenous bases that are not paired to anything. So don't draw any weak hydrogen bonds here, guys, when it comes to RNA, because it is single-stranded. Are we still together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sam,
Yes.
maybe let's say they say through the structure of the RNA and nucleotide, are we supposed to draw this one, or we can just draw one nucleotide?
Okay, if they say an RNA nucleotide, you just need to draw one, because a nucleotide is just a singlet. It is the monomer, all right? But the moment they want an entire RNA molecule and maybe they give you a sequence, you need to just follow their instruction and draw it, but it must be single-stranded. There must be no hydrogen bonds, no weak hydrogen bonds, because remember that RNA molecule is a single-stranded molecule, all right? And also the nitrogenous base thymine, it is not present in RNA, all right? The nitrogenous base thymine is not present in RNA. Instead, we have got what? We have got a uracil instead of thymine. Are we getting the sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this base pairing this adenine and uracil, cytosine and guanine, you will only do it during the process of protein synthesis. When you are drawing the structure, there is no such thing, because we don't have any weak hydrogen bonds. All right. So we've got three types of RNA. We've got mRNA. It is known as messenger RNA. We have got tRNA, it is known as transfer RNA. We have got rRNA, it is known as ribosomal RNA. All right, it's fine. Let's look at them one by one and how they look like. Right. So these are the three types of RNA that we have. These are the shapes that we'll always use, guys, in the diagrams and in the exams. The exams will never give you any other shape that is different from these ones. Do we get the sense? It's more like the stick diagrams that we use for RNA. So the first type that we have here is messenger RNA, which is mRNA. So mRNA, it has got a duty. It carries the code for protein synthesis from DNA, from the DNA to the ribosome. That is the function of messenger RNA. So messenger RNA, when they draw it using stick diagram, they're just going to give you a stick, and then you will see nitrogenous bases on top of it. Let's just say this is uracil, this is adenine, this is thymine is not present, this is cytosine. And then now you find that you have got maybe you've got guanine, then you have got a cytosine, you have got adenine, then maybe you've got uracil, adenine. You can see this is how an mRNA molecule looks like. So an mRNA molecule, they will just give you one stick to show you that this is one strand. It's a single stranded one. That is the stick diagram that we use. Do you all guys see that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is messenger RNA. The ribosomal RNA is not important for you. It's not relevant for you because the ribosomal RNA, it is the one that forms the ribosomes. So it forms the ribosomes, which are the site for protein synthesis. So basically, the manufacturing of proteins, it happens at the ribosome. So when you are manufacturing proteins later on, they will do it at the what? At the ribosome. But the messenger RNA, the term messenger here, it means that it carries the code for protein synthesis. So basically, remember that, guys, when we gave the functions of DNA, we said that one of the functions is that DNA, it contains the code for protein synthesis. Do you guys remember us saying that? We said last time that DNA carries the code for protein synthesis.
We did.
We did. That's one of the functions of DNA, the core functions that I said you guys should make sure to start.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it carries the code for protein synthesis. So that code, it has to be.
Oh, yeah.
That code has to come from DNA and it will be carried by mRNA. So mRNA, it carries the code for protein synthesis from the DNA molecule to the ribosome. But we'll see how that happens later on when we get to the process. But make sure that you understand the function that DNA, it is the one that contains the code, and then mRNA will carry that code from DNA and it will take it to the ribosome. And then the ribosome, it is where protein synthesis will occur. The ribosome, it is made up of ribosomal RNA. And then we have got this last RNA, which is known as transfer RNA. So transfer RNA or tRNA, it does what? It brings amino acid. So it carries amino acid to the ribosome to form a protein. So transfer RNA, it carries amino acids towards the ribosome so that it can form some proteins. So you guys should know that proteins are made up of amino acids. You learned that in grade 10, right? You know
Yes.
that. And also in grade 11, you learned of the digestive system, that when proteins are broken down, they become amino acids. So amino acids, they make up the protein molecule. So basically, for us to make proteins, we need this transfer RNA, because the transfer RNA, it carries those amino acids so that we bring them to the ribosome so that we can make some proteins. So the shape of tRNA, it looks like this. It looks like a T, guys. It will always look like this. All right. So here you will always see a round shape here close to the what is the question, Samuel?
Say, as to see, would I be wrong in an exam when they ask me the functions of DNA? Then I'll say if it carries a code to mRNA.
No. Okay, you would have. Okay, you are correct. You are correct in an illustrative way, but you must explain when it contains the code. The one that carries the code, it is the mRNA. Okay, but the DNA, it contains the code. So the contain is very important.
Okay, see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now, on top of tRNA, you're gonna see this circular shape here. This circular shape, it is the amino acid itself. So I'm sure we said that a tRNA, it carries amino acids to the ribosome. So on top of a tRNA molecule, you will always see a round shape, and that round shape is a what? Is an amino acid.
So, sir, okay, I hear you when you talk about transfer. So it has how many nucleotides? 3. The hambaranjan.
Okay. When it comes to transfer RNA, don't worry yourself about the nucleotides and how they are arranged. Don't worry about yourself. Don't worry yourself about that, because the structure of the way the nucleotides are arranged, it's not easy to explain using transfer RNA. That's why they just give you a T as the diagram. But usually when they want to talk about RNA, they use this single-stranded messenger RNA to explain Is it fine? Yeah, don't worry about the nucleotides in the transfer RNA. Just know that it is made up of nucleotides, but don't give it too much thought, okay? Because these are stick diagrams to simplify your life. So now that's one more thing that you need to know just to prepare yourself for protein synthesis is that if we are having three nitrogenous bases that are consecutive or that are following each other, we say that those are known as codons. So those people who wanted to know what a codon is, when we have got three nitrogenous bases, for example, this is uracil, adenine, and cytosine. These are three nitrogenous bases, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's three nitrogenous bases and they are following each other. Those are the two things that you need to make sure of. It's three nitrogenous bases, they are following each other. Three nitrogenous bases, they are following each other. We say that this is known as a what? As a codon. So this is one codon. So we just call them collectively as a codon. Yes, Sam?
Like they say uracil and cytosine. Still a codon.
Uracil and what?
Cytosine.
For this diagram.
Yes, sir.
For this diagram, we don't have uracil and cytosine following each other.
Okay. You see the last part, UUA, something like that, still a codon.
Yes, this is uracil and adenine, not cytosine. Okay, so uracil, adenine. So these are three nitrogenous bases that are following each other. This is another codon. Okay, this is another codon. This is known as a codon. Just three of them following each other. Yes, Samuel?
So say the space between the codons doesn't have a name.
Don't worry, we'll still give it a name. Let's just try this one, GCA. Can we call this a codon? Can we call this? Yes, we can call it a codon because these are three nitrogenous bases following each other. Yes. So, yeah. So don't worry.
So it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter if they match or they pair or like they are the same. As long as they follow each other.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. As long as you have got three of them and they are following each other, you call them a codon. Don't worry yourself too much on the other things. Yes, Sam?
Yeah, four or more, they are not codons.
There shouldn't be four or more. It's just three. So let's just go back here for a bit. Do you guys see this diagram, the first one? Do you see molecule X in this diagram?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In molecule X, this molecule here, this X molecule here, don't mind the other ones. Just look at X. Focus on this line, Pearl. It has got uracil, it has got cytosine, it has got uracil, guanine, adenine, cytosine, adenine, uracil, cytosine, adenine. How many codons can you see in this molecule?
4. 1, 2, 3.
4.
Can everyone see codons? Can everyone see 4 codons there?
No.
How many can you see when I say more there?
Nothing.
Remember, codons is just three consecutive nitrogenous bases, three nitrogenous bases that are following each other. Let's just draw this structure again here without putting the DNA. We have got a U here, we have got a C here, we have got a U, we have got a G, we have got a G, we have got another G, and then we have got an A, then a C, then we have got an A, then we have got a U, then we've got a C, then we've got an A. How many groups of three nitrogenous bases can you see here?
How many?
How many groups of three nitrogenous bases? If you were to group three nitrogenous bases, how many groups would you have?
4.
Yeah, those are the codons. And the codons are simply just three nitrogenous bases that are following each other.
Yes. You know why I didn't say? I said I'm seeing no codons here.
Yes.
Because of the space. I think the space are equal. So that is why I said there is no codon.
Okay, it's fine. They don't consider the spaces too much when it comes to the diagrams that they're gonna use here. Just when I consider grouping 3 nitrogenous spaces and say this is one codon, 3 nitrogenous spaces, this is another codon, 3 nitrogenous spaces, this is another codon, 3 nitrogenous spaces, this one, this is another codon. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 codons.
Those are genes.
Let's just call them codons for now. Let's remove the gene part. Let's remove the gene. Just call them codons. 3 nitrogenous spaces that are following each other are known as codons. Yeah. This is just to train your mind for protein synthesis, because I will be using these terms. I will be using these terms quite a lot. When I'm talking about a codon, it's 3 nitrogenous spaces that are following each other. You guys will look at the differences between DNA and RNA because we've already done them in a practical sense. Go look over them and also look at the similarities between these two. Yeah, and for your homework, you guys are going to research about protein synthesis and DNA profiling as well. But this is a simple concept, nothing much complex about it. So when we come back, that's on Monday. On Tuesday, we're going to continue.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.